Hi, I'm having a look at It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. Brilliant song by Bob Dylan. There's been lots of covers of this, but today I'm looking at the original Dylan version. Now what happens in this, it's a bit unusual, is he puts capo on 4th fret, but tunes this string down quite a long way. So that's actually tuned down to a C without the capo on. So you have the rest of the strings normal notes, so A, D, G, B and E, but this one, instead of being an E, it's got to go all the way down to a C. So the best way to do that is probably use a guitar tuner. But once you put the capo on, because that string's quite slack, you'll need to probably adjust the tuning by ear a little bit. So just to help with that, I'm going to play each of my strings with the capo on 4th fret, so you can tune to this. Because of this tuning, some of the chord shapes are different to the way these chords would be played in normal tuning, but it means that they're all quite easy, but some of them just sound so nice in this tuning. It's really worth learning this song this way. You can learn the song in a standard tuning as well, and then some of the shapes will be different. I can always do a lesson on that, but I thought I'd look today at the proper way that I think he played it. So the chords that we need to use are C. Now C is just standard C chord that you probably already know, but normally you'd only strum 5 strings. For this song we can strum all 6 because of that one being tuned down. Obviously this isn't really a C chord because I've got the capo on, C's down there, but we call it C because that's what it looks like. So that sounds like this. Then we've got G7. For G7, first finger on the 1st string, 1st fret. And then these 2 middle fingers, both in 2nd fret, counting from the capo, 1, 2, on the thickest 2 strings. So we've got 2, 2, open, 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 1. There's an F. Now F is just a normal F chord that you probably know. First finger over 2 strings at 1st fret, 2nd finger at the 3rd string, 2nd fret. 3rd finger on the 4th string, 3rd fret. But the difference with this one to the way you'd normally play it is you can play all of the strings. So it's just a normal F shape, but we play all of them. There's also an F add 9 in the song at one point. That's the same chord, but you put your little finger on the 1st string, 3rd fret, which means this finger can lift up, so it's only on the 2nd string, or it can stay there, it doesn't matter. All of the strings again. So that's F add 9. There's a D minor. D minor is the normal D minor shape. So 1st fret, 1st string, 3rd fret, 2nd string, 2nd fret, 3rd string. But instead of just playing 4 strings, what you can do is put your thumb, and this is what it sounds like Dylan does, put your thumb on the 2nd fret on the thickest string, and then you can play all of them. That's particularly nice, that one. There's an E7. E7's kind of the exception to the way these chords work really in this song. Normally with an E7, which is played like that, you'd play all of the strings, but because of the tuning, now we've got to avoid this string and just play 5. So that's different to the other chords, because most of the others were able to strum more strings than usual, but on this one we've got 1 less than usual. So not playing that, and it's 2, open, 1, open, open. And there's a very sort of brief kind of passing chord called a C sus4, and that's where you play the C that we had earlier, but then you flatten the 1st finger down so it's covering 2 strings at 1st fret like you would for an F chord, and add the little finger onto the 3rd fret of the 4th string. So this finger doesn't need to be there, but because it's just a brief passing chord, which goes from a C to this and then back to C again, you just leave that one there, it's easier. So we go, so C, that's just a little embellishment, it's not that important. So those are all of the chords in the song. So the intro is just 4 bars of C, and in terms of the strum pattern for this song, probably best to do one that I call strum number 1, which is down, down, up, up, down, up, like this. If you're not sure about that strum pattern, then put it in the comments and I'll maybe do a separate lesson looking at that. I may have already done that, not sure. But anyway, strum number 1, down, down, up, up, down, up. So for the intro, it's just 4 bars of C. Remember C, we can play all of the strings, so that'd be this. Now verse 1 is different to all of the other verses. So what happens in verse 1 is we have a G7, which is that, 2 bars. Then we have a half bar, or a bar of 2/4, which is just 2 beats on the F, and then 2 bars of C. So I'll just play this. The unusual thing here is the half bar of F. Now that half bar's there because the G7's a bit longer at that point than it is at that point in the other verses and for the rest of the song. It's just because of the words that he's singing. He's got more words to fit in, so he's on the G7 for a bit longer. So in the other verses, what happens is the G7 isn't 2 whole bars, it's a bar and a half. So you've got 1 bar of G7, then half a bar of G7, followed by a half bar of F. So the second bar there is G7 to F, which would be this, G7 for a bar, and G7 to F. And for those half bars, or bars that split between 2 chords, I'm just strumming down for each beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what happens in this first verse is a bit confusing, but you've got the G7 for a bit longer, 2 whole bars, then the half bar of F, 2 bars of C, and then that repeats, but G7's just for a bar and a half. I'm just going to play those 8 bars just so you can hear that, and you'll hear what I mean. If you know the song well, you'll think of the words, it all matches. Now in later verses, it's just the second part of that twice. So later verses would be this. And then we go to D minor for a bar. Remember D minor with the thumb over the top. F add 9 for a bar, C for 2 bars. So that's this. Then that repeats. So D minor, F add 9, C, C, D minor, F add 9, C, C. Okay, so I'm just going to play the whole of verse 1 for you. Now the chorus, we've got E7 for a bar and a half. Remember, E7 is the standard E7 chord, but we're not playing that string. You might want to just mute it by touching it with that finger. That's a bar and a half, then half a bar of F, and then G7 for 2 bars. So that's this. Then we have a bar of D minor, a bar of F add 9, and 2 bars of C. So that's similar to the end of the verse. In the 2 bars of C, there's that brief C sus4 that I mentioned when we looked at the chords. I'd say that's optional really. I don't think he necessarily does it every time, but I'll put that in when I demonstrate it here. So I'll play the whole of the chorus. So that's the chorus, and the choruses are all like that. They're all the same. So then we've got verse 2. Now verse 2, as I mentioned when we looked at verse 1, it's the same, but instead of the 2 full bars of G7 before going to the F, it's only a bar and a half of G7. Just to clarify, I'm going to play verse 2 now, and other verses are exactly the same as this. And then we repeat the chorus, repeat the verse, repeat the chorus, repeat the verse, repeat the chorus, repeat the verse, repeat the chorus. So I don't know how many that was, it's a lot. I've got it written down in front of me, but it's a lot of verses and choruses. There's an instrumental sort of harmonica solo part, but that's still included in what I just said. So some of those verses, or one of those verses, will be instrumental. So in total, we've got the intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, verse 3, chorus, verse 4, chorus, verse 5, chorus. And one of those verses was the instrumental one. And at the very end, off the end of that last chorus, just play G7 for 2 bars, and then 3 strums on a C, like this. Something like that. So I'll play the last chorus followed by that ending. And from what I can remember, I think that the last 3 strums on the C are sort of out of time, how I did them then. I think they are. If they're not, then it's it'd be in time, but I think it's slightly out of time, but you can just feel that. Okay, that's everything in the song. So this tuning really makes it, I think. I mean, it's brilliant lyrically, and obviously it's brilliant, and musically it's brilliant as well, but having this tuning really kind of makes it sound nice, just strumming it on one acoustic guitar. I do feel like it's missing that bass guitar part throughout, but it's because I've heard the song about 1 million times and I've probably got that in my head, so I'm missing it when I'm strumming just the chords. But yeah, lovely chord sequence, and some of those chords, that D minor in particular, just sound really nice in this tuning. You've got this instead of what would normally be this. Don't know how well that comes across on the camera, but in the room that's a lot nicer with that bass note. Any questions, as always, put them in the comments. Please click like if you liked it. If you didn't like it, then maybe send me a message, tell me why. And if you want to suggest other songs, could be other Dylan songs or anything else really that you want to see lessons on, let me know. And subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, thanks.